and welcome. Today I'll be talking to you about community newspapers. In today's interconnected world, where information flows freely across borders and platforms, the role of information dissemination has become more critical than ever. Amidst the abundance of information sources, ranging from social media feeds to online portals, one enduring pillar of information dissemination stands tall, and that is the newspapers. A newspaper is a publication that contains current news, correspondence, advertisements, and articles of special and public interest displayed on sheets of paper. Holding a newspaper in hands is like holding a piece of the world's shared experiences. It's just not a paper, it's a symphony of voices, a keeper of tales, and a reliable friend saying, "Let me tell you what happened today." So this is the relevance of a newspaper. So a newspaper is a publication that contains news and content of general and special interest. The printed publication comprises folded sheets that display current news, correspondence, ads, and articles. Historians attribute the emergence and development of inscribed news to the Roman era daily public records. The Romans carved updates and military campaigns, executions, competitions, and politics on metal or on stone sheets. These carved updates were published on the public forum. But now, in the recent years, we have seen several changes in the style and functioning of a newspaper. The modern newspaper is a European invention. The oldest direct written news sheets circulated widely in Venice as early as 1566. It is believed that the first newspaper was printed in the year 1605. Now you can imagine the history of newspapers and its historical importance. Now I'll take you towards the Indian perspective. So what is the general scenario of newspapers in India? India is a land of diversity and has a rich history of reflecting that through its press. From the pre-independence times, which is early 19th century, by pioneers like James Augustus Hickey, who published Bengal Gazette in the year 1780, and James Silk Buckingham, who published the Calcutta Journal in 1818, the power of newspapers led the country to a nationalist awakening, unifications, and ultimately freedom. Hence, it becomes essential to know some key highlights about newspapers in India today. Now let us look at the RNI report, which is a registration of newspapers in India. As a student of journalism, or if you are interested in knowing more about journalism, you must visit RNI on a regular basis to understand the growth of the print media in India. The total number of registered publications as on 31st March 2022, you can see it on the screen, 1,46,045. Newspaper categories, we have more than 20,000 categories. Periodical categories, we have nearly 1,25,000 periodical categories. Number of new publications registered during the year 2021 to 2022 was 1,525. This would give you an idea how there is a spread in print media across India. The number of seized publications during this year was 27. percentage of growth of total registered publications over the previous year is 1.05%. The RNI report also reveals that the largest number of publications registered in any Indian language is in Hindi, which is more than 56,000. The second largest number of newspapers and periodicals registered in any language, which is English, is more than 19,000. The state with the largest number of registered publications is Uttar Pradesh, with more than 21,000 registered publications. The state with the second largest number of registered publications is Maharashtra, with over 20,000 publications. The number of publications that submitted annual statements is more than 34,000. The total claimed circulation of publications during this tenure, you can see it on the screen and you will be surprised. Then comes the Hindi publication, English publication, Urdu publications. And the largest number of publications that submitted annual statements in any Indian language is obviously Hindi. The second largest number of publications submitting annual statements is Marathi. Largest circulated newspaper in English is Daily Hindustan Times, which was published in 1924. The largest circulated multi-edition daily is Dainik Bhaskar, which was established in 1958 and which has 44 editions. The second largest circulated multi-edition daily is the Times of India, published in English, which established in 1838. This is the overview. The largest circulated periodical is Sunday Times of India, and then largest circulated periodical is in Malayalam, Malayalam Manorama, and the total number of title applications received in this year was more than 10,000. The language with the largest number of daily publication obviously is Hindi, with more than 8,667 publications. Top 5 newspapers in India. This is also something that as a student of journalism you must know and also remember. So the top 5, amongst the top 5, first one is Dainik Jagran, Hindi, readership of over 55 million. Dainik Bhaskar, around 33 million. And then comes Times of India, largest English daily in India, then Amar Ujala, and then Hindustan Times. So which means the top 2 are published in Hindi language. This is the chart about circulation. Top 5 newspapers: Dainik Bhaskar, Jagran, HT, Amar Ujala, and Malayalam Manorama. Now, what are the types of newspapers? When you hold a newspaper, do you ever think that there are different types of papers? And all of them have a different story to tell. All of them have, some sort of a history, and there is a reason and there is an objective behind every newspaper. So, when you divide them into categories, broadly you find 3 categories: on the basis of publication, on the basis of coverage of news, and also on the basis of frequency of publication. You see broadsheets and tabloids. These are commonly found to different publications. So what is a broadsheet? Initially, this classification was only based on the size of pages, and the style of writing differs from tabloids, with longer sentences and paragraphs and more articles offering in-depth analysis. Then there are tabloids. These publications are usually half the size of a broadsheet. However, tabloids became associated with sensationalist news that presented biased information written in a style meant to scandalize happenings so as to catch readers' attention. Tabloids are mostly image-led, popular newspapers, and can be subdivided into 2 groups: red tops and middle market dailies. The coverage of news published international newspapers to provide information about events, developments and trends that are taking place around the world. It helps readers stay informed about important issues and events beyond their own local or national borders. Then what is a national newspaper? National newspaper are the papers that are published each day or at least every weekday, covering a wide range of news topics. Generally, they have a predominant focus on national news, but they do incorporate news from cities across the country. Then comes the other category, which is about regional and local newspapers. I am sharing all these categories so that when we talk about community newspapers, you have a solid background to understand. So regional newspapers cover news and events in a specific region, such as a state or province, while local newspapers cover news and events in a specific city, town or neighborhood. They target more specific audiences based on their geographic location. So, when we talk about international newspapers, several examples can come to your mind. For example, the New York Times International Edition, Financial Times, and so on. National newspapers, Hindustan Times, Hindu, Malayalam Manorama, Dainik Jagran, Amar Ujala. Regional newspapers, they are also known as community newspapers because of such targeted audience. They have smaller circulation and local ads. You might not know number of community newspapers being published and circulated in your own community. Now you must start looking at them. Daily newspapers. These newspapers are published every day, typically in the morning. They provide current news, updates, information on a daily basis. Generally, national newspapers adopt this publishing strategy. Indian Express, Hindu, Dainik Jagran, Hindustan Times are some of the widely known newspapers from India. Weekly newspapers are published once a week, usually on the same day each week. They cover a broader range of topics and may include in-depth analysis and features. India Today is another such widely read weekly magazine that covers news, politics, business and lifestyle. Outlook is another such weekly news magazine that focuses on politics, current affairs and social issues. Then there is another category of bi-weekly or fortnightly newspapers. They are published every 2 weeks, offering a balance between the frequency of daily and weekly newspapers. Frontline is a fortnightly English magazine that offers in-depth analysis of current affairs, politics and culture. The Caravan is a bi-monthly magazine known for its long-form journalism and narrative storytelling. Monthly newspapers. They are published once in a month and tend to provide more in-depth analysis, features and investigative reports. The Week is a weekly news magazine that provides a comprehensive roundup of national and international news. Sarita is a Hindi weekly magazine covering a wide range of topics including politics, culture and literature. Quarterly newspapers. They are published every 3 months and focus on long-form journalism, research articles and academic content. Economic and Political Weekly, which is also called EPW, is a renowned academic journal with a focus on economics, politics and social issues. It is published weekly but often considered in the quarterly category due to its depth of content. India Quarterly is a refereed journal of international affairs. It aims to encourage scholars, journalists and other freelance intellectuals to contribute original articles on matters concerning international relations and national foreign policies. Now I would like to come to the part on community newspapers. So first of all, we need to understand what is a community. A community is a group of people who share common characteristics, interests or values and who come together for a shared purpose. A community can be based on geographic location, but it can also be based on other factors like ethnicity, religion, profession or hobby. Communities may have a stronger sense of shared identity or purpose than neighborhoods, and they may work together to achieve common goals or address shared challenges. It is not defined by geographical area or local region generally. However, these places can foster communities. A community newspaper is considered to be and should be an unbiased newspaper that raises issues early, follows them over the time, and facilitates consideration of alternative solutions to local problems and issues, and can set a climate of public civil discourse that encourages innovation. This is the most crucial objective and also the definition of a community newspaper. So, any newspaper that defines itself as committed to serving a particular community may be defined as a community newspaper. Despite the emergence of new information technologies such as the internet, community newspapers continue to play an important role in the information age. It is one of the long prevailing institutions that holds rural communities together. Over 150 million people are informed, educated and entertained by a community newspaper every week. Just imagine how important role they play. Moreover, the value of community newspapers continue to grow as they seek new ways to serve their readers and strengthen their communities. When social researchers focus on newspapers, they are generally more interested in the large daily newspapers which predominate in urban regions and which is usually the residence of the researchers as well. However, there is a small literature on weekly community newspapers, especially in relation to their functions within the community. From the early research onward, it has been assumed that the functions of a weekly newspaper are different from the functions of a daily newspaper. Small communities have fewer interest groups and more informal communication channels, including a great deal of face-to-face interaction. Since the news in a weekly is not tied to time deadlines, as in the case with dailies, the role of a weekly is more of an overview. The fact that most small town newspapers are weeklies allows reporters and editors to deal with sensitive issues, murder, accidents, etc., with more compassion without an evening head deadline on their shoulders. So till now we have discussed about different kinds of newspapers, their circulation and readership with special reference to India, and the definition and the variety of community newspapers. In the next portion, I will be discussing with you the functions of community newspapers and also different types of community newspapers.